All right, let's have some fun with a super easy activity, which is a pixel stretch activity. Here's an example of a finished one. This is in Photoshop, but you could do this in Photoshop or Photopea. I'm going to delete these layers and just kind of show you how this started out. So I'm going to completely delete my pixel stretch, and I'm going back to my original picture. Now, if you don't have knowledge of how to remove backgrounds, you're going to need to start with something that has a transparent background, or of course, remove and mask out your background. Once you've done that, you are ready to select the pixels that you're going to stretch. Now, if you're in Photoshop, when you click on the marquee tool, you actually have a single column marquee, and you can click on that and then just drag down to create a marquee selection. Now, what this is going to do is, and this is going to be kind of funny on this one because there are transparent areas, and if it selects transparent areas, those areas won't have any pixels. So I really want to get some of this red and the black and some of this shirt here. So I'm going to come down and just decide where this needs to go. See, if I go over too far, I won't get the red. Now, I know I'm going to have some transparent areas, but so that's that on this one, okay? Then I'm going to create a new layer, but before I do that, I'm going to copy. So edit, copy, create the new layer, edit, paste. This is going to be your stretched pixels. You can't really see them because they're tiny. Now, the process for this is a tiny bit different in Photopea. Let's start with Photopea. Got a picture of my homes here. I'm going to take my marquee selection. Notice we do not have a 1 pixel column selection here. So on this one, we kind of have to go a little bit manual on it. So as you drag down here, see it says 13 pixels. You only want it to be, it'll be 1 pixel in Photoshop. And you could do 1. I got that on 1. Or you could even do 2 or 3. It's okay. For this example, I'll just use 3 just for the sake of argument here. Okay, and then same concept. You're going to edit, copy, create a new layer. You can't see my button down here, but there's a new layer button, and then edit and paste. And now you've got this pixel pasted there. Okay, so again, I'll name this one. Okay, the process then is the same. You're going to bring up your transform handles. If you're in Photopea, it's easiest to go to edit free transform. And that's going to bring up that, and then you're going to pull. And you got to get the left and right arrows to pull. If you get the other arrow, you'll be pulling the center point, which isn't a big deal, but that's not what we want to do. Okay, I gotta grab a hold of it. I'm on a funny coffee table here. All right, so we're stretching our pixels, and depending on how you want to do this, you can stretch it both directions if you want it to be in a circle. So let's say for this one, I'm not going to make it be in a circle, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and drag this below. See, that already looks kind of cool. Let's go to Photoshop though, and I'm gonna Control T to get my transform handles on this one. And same story, I'm gonna pull these pixels out. See, I had some transparent areas, so my pixels are transparent. And again, I could move it to a lower layer and just stop here and warp this, but for this one, I'm not going to. I'm gonna go all the way across and accept that transformation. Now, this next step you could do on either, but you wanna do it, if you want a circle, it has to already go all the way from left to right. Okay, so you're going to go up to Filter, Distort, and Polar Coordinates. And that's going to create this circle. You're just going to hit OK. You have a circle, and then you can move it down to the lower layer. See, that's pretty cool. And again, that same feature exists in here, Filter, Distort, Polar Coordinates. But if I do it on this one, it's not going to be a circle. It sort of messes with the background because I didn't go all the way around. So I'm not going to do that on this one. But if I had gone all the way through from left to right, it would make that perfect circle, and I wouldn't have to deal with the edges. Okay, so I've got that on this one. So your next step then is just what do you want to do to it? In this example, I'm going to pull back up my transform, edit free transform, and right click and warp. And I'm just going to pull these edges up and kind of warp this selection. And you could do, you know, if you wanted it to come like out like that, sort of, you just kind of move these little things, these little handles here and there. I don't know, I kind of like that little wave look there. You know, it's really just whatever you like here. Okay, so we got it. Looks good. And then pretty much you're done with it. At this point, it's just, what do you want to do? Do you want to add a background? So I'm just going to add a new layer again, pull it to the bottom. In this one, I'm going to call it a background. And then you could pull in, you could take a gradient if you wanted to and create a gradient background. Or go the other direction. I don't know which one I like better. You could just fill it with a paint bucket and have a solid background. So I could back up and grab my paint bucket tool, pick a color, maybe pick a color from my document. So like maybe this yellow, gold, whatever color, and then just click and fill that in on that background layer. You've got all kinds of options here. You can add layer styles, so I can hit my effects button at the bottom and add like a drop shadow or some other kind of effect here. Just depends on what you want to do to it. There's so many different things you could do, so it's just totally up to you here as far as what you like on this one. Okay, so let's say, yeah, I'll go with that. All right, so this one's cool. I'll go back to Photoshop. We'll do this one just a little bit different. So if you are knowledgeable of Photoshop, you can add a layer mask and you can paint out and hide some of these pixels. Or of course you could just take a standard eraser and you can erase them. I'm kind of big on not being destructive, so I'm going to make a layer mask. And if you don't know how to do that, you hit this little button here on either program and you take your paintbrush tool and you just treat it like an eraser, only use black to like pretend erase. You got to click on the white box. Then I could like paint this out. I've got it on a weird setting right now here. Turn my flow up. Here we go. And then you could kind of paint out, this. And essentially that's like erasing. It's non-destructive. So you can bring back anything that you want to bring back. So, see now that's part's going away. So I'm just going to switch this to put the white back on top and I'm going to paint these parts back in. And that's kind of a fun little thing that you can do with those. The other cool thing is you could use a smart filter on any of these things. So not on your person, you wouldn't want to do that here, but I can make this layer a smart object. So right click, convert to smart object. It'll look like this. And then if you go to any of these filters, you can kind of just play all day here. For instance, Pixelate has one called Mezzotint that I kind of like. That gives it this like dashy thing. You can do long lines, short lines, dots. I'll set mine on line so you can see. There you go. Kind of gives that little weathered line effect. See before and after. But you can do any filter. You can delete filters. You can add filters. Photoshop has a whole filter gallery, which has some artistic filters, which are a lot of fun to play with. So you can, choose any of these types of different things, whatever you like here. And notice mine's still using the mezzotint because I have the mezzotint still on there. But you could even take the mezzotint off. Like I could see, what's that look like if I take the mezzotint off, So anyway, you got your different little options here. And then of course, you pull in your background. If you have a background that you want to paste in, so for instance, I've got one loaded up here. Oh, nope, I've got the other thing on here. But you can paste in or open in anything else. So if you've got like a picture of, music notes, if I'm putting it on him, music, I think I spell music right. Notes background. You could go try to find a music notes type background and pop that in there. And then just kind of use that in the background. And it's okay, honestly, on these, if they get all blurry. I'm just going to copy it and then paste it in. So edit and paste. It's going to put it on its own layer. I'm going to move that layer behind. I'm going to Control T and transform it and fill it out. Oops. And again, you may not care if it messes up your transform on these because it's just a background anyway. So I could go in there and do that. I could even make this one a smart object and do additional things to it. So again, I might want to change the color. So I would go to my black and white and I would go and tint. And I could try to tint that a little bit, like maybe give it a little bit of a kind of pink color. Get it over to the pink. So it's more of a red there. Turn it up. So give it kind of a pink color back there. And then again, I can add another smart filter to it. Maybe I want to give it a blur, motion blur kind of thing. Yeah, look, that looks interesting. You don't even know it's music notes. But anyway, you can do all kinds of stylistic artsy things. And of course, you can add text, you can add your drop shadows, any of that stuff. So experiment with smart filters on these because it's a lot of fun. You can always just clear the smart filters. You can right click and delete the smart filters, turn the eyeballs on and off. And smart filters exist in Photo P2. So if you've got a background in there, which I don't here, but like you could still make this a smart object and utilize the smart filters that you have in here. The gallery isn't as big in Photo P, but you still do have a lot of other options like that mezzo tint that I was talking about. See, I can still use that in here. And you've got different options that you could do. Like that looks pretty neat. So lots of different options, lots of fun, and super easy project.